Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Shauna Presley Vircher, the Political Fixer, and this is Political Fixer Live. For those of you that are new to our program, it's really simple. We're going to be going through some of the headlines, the top political stories, some strategy, and even some fun updates. And you can get involved. We want to hear from you. Just enter your comments and questions into the chat, and our political fixer team is going to help make sure we get to as many of those chats and questions as possible. We have so many things to cover. Marlene, I want to say a special hello to you. I know you've been so supportive this week. I want to say hi to our political fixer moderators this evening. That's going to be our producer, Eddie, and then Jay Robot. Sarah, our chief of staff, is not going to be joining us this evening because she had a super fancy political meeting that she's going to. So we're doing double duty this evening with the political fixer crew. Triple if you count what I'm sure Heidi is up to with doing her nonstop activism. So let me tell you what's going to be on tonight's show. First of all, we've got the political fixer buzz story. What is our top headline that we feel like we should be giving the most conversation to and a little bit more attention? We're going to be talking about 47's showdown with apparently our entire judicial branch. And it took some interesting twists and turns just in the last 48 hours. And we've got some unexpected allies, folks. It's been crazy. So we're going to cover what's been going on with the showdown between 47 and a lot of federal judges, and spoiler alert, the Supreme Court is getting involved. We also are going to talk about the top trending story in politics, and that is what happened with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, or maybe more appropriately, what the heck is happening with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. We're going to do a quick rundown of where that story stands, but we're going to take it further. We're actually going to talk about why I feel like this is happening, and what I feel like the kind of antidote is going to be for us to organize our way around it. So we'll talk about that story, Schumer, what actually happened, and again, what we can do about it right now. We've also got some pretty great updates with Equal Rights Now, our quest to finally certify the 28th Amendment to add women as equal citizens in the United States Constitution. I just hopped into the studio from being on a statewide conference call with one of our large states that's in very much support in what we're doing. So I'll give you all of that and also some fun reveals on Equal Rights Now. And then I promised you last week, for those of you that were on last week, I promised you that you would get the first look at a new national campaign that we're rolling out. And we're going to make good on that promise. Now, it is in beta form, but you will get to see it. You'll have first access. It's a live link, and you'll get to see everything as it continues to roll out over the next week, well before the rest of the country does. And we've even got a couple of gifts for you. Then we've got some special events that we want to invite you to. So a lot to cover. All right, let's get it going, shall we? All right. We have Ali Collins asking, can you please talk about Curtis Yarvin and tech bros fueling a white supremacist takeover? Okay, Ali or Ali, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I definitely think that if we get a chance, we should talk about what's happening with not just the tech bros, but some of the other things that we're seeing in the government. So I'm going to flag that comment and make sure to circle back to it in just a bit. If any of the rest of you have questions or comments for the broadcast, then definitely feel free to put them in the chat. And oh, hey, Ali, good to see you. And then we'll also make sure that we get you on YouTube as well. If you missed part of this show, no worries. It'll be up there you to view for free on Political Fixer at our YouTube channel. So let's dive in because we've got so much to cover. A lot of paper this evening. So let me proactively apologize for that because there's a lot of ground to cover. Okay. 47 is squaring off with the judges. What does that mean? Okay, let's take a step back. We're getting inundated with headlines and these executive orders, which is basically like a kid writing a congressional wish list to Santa Claus. They aren't really laws. There's actually a balance that we have to go through. When an executive order gets written, then there's supposed to be a process. Now, we're going to talk more about Congress and their involvement or lack thereof of the process, but the judicial branch is not taking a pass at their involvement in our Constitution. They have decided to step up. And so now this flurry of executive orders is finally making its way to the courts. Now, to be fair, justice does move slower than a wrecking ball. But in the scheme of things, several weeks is actually very, very fast for these types of cases. So I say finally because that's emotionally how it feels to us. But in the scheme of things, they're actually on top of this stuff. Let's go through a few of the rulings that have happened to slow down what's been happening to our government and a number of institutions and a number of rights. All right, we're going to go through 4 quick stories just so you can get an update. And let me tell you, this is actually kind of a positive story. I know we always try to look for that silver lining. It feels like he's unstoppable right now, but again, there's some glimmers here. All right, let's start first with the 2 judges, not one, but dos. 2 judges, federal judges, both of them with separate rulings, said that this administration has to rehire thousands, if not tens of thousands of workers, government workers that they fired, all of whom were on a probationary period. Now, let me tell you exactly what these rulings were and why they were made. Okay, in San Francisco, then the judge, William Alsup, he said that they lacked the authority to do this, that the agency that went in there, DOJ, that they couldn't do it, which some of us have been screaming at the television and at our devices for weeks, right? But a federal judge from San Francisco sided with the people, and it turns out that they're going to have to rehire tens of thousands of government employees. Now, whether or not they accept those positions back, etc., that's tomorrow's problem. But the good news is the court is saying, no, this was illegal. Second judge in Baltimore, James Breeder, found that the administration did not follow laws for large-scale layoffs, including 60 days advance notice. Turns out there's rules around here. I know, it's hard to remember that sometimes, but if you are going to have the authority to remove people and fire them, you've still got to follow some procedures, right? So it turns out that these large-scale layoffs did not follow the laws that are set forth, the processes. So now we have these judges that are saying, no, you absolutely cannot do that. Now, Kathy Z is asking a great question. Will they follow the rulings? Great question, Kathy. We're going to get to that in just a second. Let's do a rundown of a couple more cases and showing you what's going on across the country. All right. The executive order that barred transgender people from the military, a headline that honestly I feel like got a little bit buried in all of this stuff. His disdain for our transgender brothers and sisters, not a surprise or a secret by this point, but the fact that he said they cannot serve in the military at all, I feel like flew a little bit under the radar. Now, the judge, Anna Reyes, said that there's a preliminary injunction that she has placed that was filed on behalf of these active duty servicemen and women, and saying that they cannot fire them just for being transgender. I want to read you just an excerpt of what Judge Reyes said. Indeed, the cruel irony is that thousands of transgender service members have sacrificed, some risking their lives, to ensure for others the very equal protection rights that this military ban seeks to deny to them. The court's opinion is long. It was 79 pages. This woman was mad. But its premise is simple. In the self-evident truth that all people are created equal, all means all, nothing more, and certainly nothing less. All right. Jim 97006 says they didn't just not follow the laws. They actually lied on termination papers. Jim, that is a great point. And I want to kind of file that away because let's circle back to that in just a second, because I think that stuff is actually going to matter more than people realize. So really great point. And Stoney's wondering about consequences. A bit more on that as well. Okay, let's go through 2 more cases and then we'll dive into the heart of the matter. Okay, and I want to say again, thank you to everyone. Hello to everyone, especially our Political Fixer family on TikTok. We are already at we're nearing 5,000 likes and we're just getting going. So you guys are revved up today. Let me try to keep up with your energy. All right, 2 more cases, then we dive in. A federal judge says that the U.S. aid shutdown likely violated the Constitution. Remember that old thing? Huh, cute, right? Okay, so let me just give you a little bit on this because this is also going to be important to our conversation. It's the decision particularly to permanently close a USAID headquarters without the approval of a duly appointed USAID officer. Again, the processes matter here. Violated the Constitution in multiple ways. And that these actions harmed not only the plaintiffs, but also the public interest. All right, I'm going to slow down here for just a second because this is, and I'm not an attorney, I'm just a political strategist, but I've been trying to follow all of this and bring it to you. And this is the first ruling that I have seen where it is specifically directing us, regular citizens, the global population. Hey, this isn't in our best interest. Stop it. There's been some that have talked about process. This judge also says it deprives the public of their elected representation in Congress because they have the constitutional authority, meaning Congress, to decide whether, when, and how to close down an agency created by Congress. Now, this is a really important legal argument here because it involves us, the people, and the harm that this is potentially doing, not just did they break the law, yes or no. So really important there on the USAID side. And then also, this is our fourth headline I just want to cover. Again, so much happening, but I wanted to give you our top 4 stories. And I want to thank JRobot for helping us gather all of this intel as the headlines continued to break all day and all evening tonight. The Trump administration, 47's administration, was told that they have to stop deporting immigrants to other countries. Let me just have a little bit of language check here. Deportation involves a process. It involves option for legal representation. It involves a judge. It involves rules. It involves us knowing who has been deported somewhere. These are not deportations. These are kidnappings, just to be very clear. And I want to just make a couple of interjections here. So hundreds of immigrants were transferred to a labor camp in El Salvador. Now, we're going to talk a lot more about that in the weeks to come. I have so much to say about that, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I just want to correct on a couple of points before we dive into this. We're going to be talking about this impact and whether or not these rulings matter. That's our focus for now. But as we move forward in the weeks ahead, as we start launching campaigns that all of you can get involved in and initiatives and messaging and spreading the word, really important we don't buy their framing. And one of the things that they're saying is that these were violent Venezuelan gang members. I've actually read some of the postings and letters from one of the many attorneys of one of her clients was on one of these planes. They have confirmed that. This person was not a gang member. This person fled Venezuela because he is gay. He is a tattoo artist who has been legally and gainfully employed. He has 0 criminal history. And yet they shipped him on this plane and put him in El Salvador. Why? Because he looked the part? Because he had tattoos? Because he was from Venezuela? We don't know. But the whole point is highly illegal. And this judge has stated this in multiple ways. Now, the question of the hour. Will it matter? Okay. We cannot trust anything that is said by this administration, but there are 3 key takeaways that I want to provide to you. Number 1, it seems like nothing can stop him, but I will tell you, the Supreme Court of all places looks like they might try. Now, this is rich coming from people that said, sure, do whatever you want under your professional capacity as president. I don't know how they thought that was a good idea, but this is where we live today. Well, not so fast, because now Chief Justice John Roberts has said that this is not okay, and that the language to call to impeach judges, because of course that's what happened, right? 47 got some bad rulings. He didn't like it, so he called on everyone. These are corrupt judges, you're crooked judges. They have it in for me. We have to impeach them, right? There is no court case currently, to my knowledge, in front of the Supreme Court about impeaching these judges or to appeal these rulings. They just happened. And yet, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, publicly spoke out and said that these calls for impeaching judges is absolutely inappropriate, and that for more than 2 centuries, this is his quote, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. Another statement was made by the American Bar Association, calling out and reinforcing their support of the rule of law. Okay, so what does all of that mean? So this first thing that we're looking at, this first line of defense, do you or I trust our current Supreme Court? Most of the time, no. But let's be really clear. There's one thing that I do trust, and it's an inherent desire by many of these, primarily men, to hold on to power. To hold on to power. How do they do that? If they tell everyone that none of this matters. If they tell everyone that whatever judge says, whatever a judge says, you can just do what you want. Okay. So I actually think the Supreme Court might, in a strange way, turn out to be some sort of ally. But that leads us to part 2. Do we really think they're going to lock him up and throw away the key? No, there is no chance that that's happening, nor will any of these federal judges. No federal judge, as we have seen, which is a weakness that we currently have in our government, in my opinion, if you reach a high enough level, they will not touch you. But this is something that I feel like is interesting. One of you were saying that, they're already saying they're not going to follow the orders, right? This is absolutely true. In fact, the White House border czar said, we're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. Now, here's a pop quiz for some of you in the Political Fixer family. Many of you are very interested in this stuff. You read so much news, as do I. You are constantly posting, asking questions, engaging. Quick pop quiz for you. How many of you, without Googling, know the White House border czar's name? How many of you know his name? And I bring that up for a reason. He's not a Marco Rubio. He's not 47. He's not one of the sacred few that are untouchable, right? So Dana knows it, Cleo knows it. I knew some of you would, but do you think most Americans know that it's Tom Homan? I don't think they do. I think you guys are the aces in the class. I think most people do not know this guy's name. And why am I bringing this up? Well, first of all, I love bragging about how smart you guys are. You guys just got it right away. I'm seeing so many comments there. You guys rock. But think about regular people who do not consume as much news as we do. He's not sacred to them. He is not someone that people that voted for 47 are going to go to bat with. If that guy gets arrested, maybe it'll make headlines, but it's not going to cause democracy to stop. It's not going to cause protests in the streets. So do I think that the tip top of the ladder is going to be where judges go to enforce punishment? No. I think they're going to get some of these small to medium-sized fish, and that's how we're going to start to see enforcement. All right. Now, I want to go back to what Jim 97006 said. They actually lied on the termination papers. They didn't just not follow the laws, process, procedure. And Jim brings up a really good point, which is someone's signing all this stuff. Someone's emailing these orders. Someone's processing this and executing unlawful orders. Those people are directly able to be prosecuted under the law and also to be sued civilly by the people they're harming, right? So now, again, I'm not an attorney, but let's assume, for sake of discussion, that you're a unionized federal employee and this punk over here just fired you, and this judge said he didn't have a right to. You caused me emotional distress. You maybe cost me financial obligations and pain. You caused me opportunities. Like, it's so many things, right? That's a civil suit. So maybe you can't sue 47, but you can sue the person that was on that email order. You can sue the person that fraudulently filled out that form. That's where the liability comes in. And this is art of war, right? This is splintering them and giving them more to deal with instead of just attacking the tip of the spear all the time, right? Now, Greyhound Gal says, wouldn't Trump just pardon them? I mean, maybe. Absolutely possible. But you know what? That process is arduous. It is expensive. And think about for just a second that you're not someone like a Marco Rubio, that you're someone that's a regular person with a regular amount of money that's just executing orders to suck up to this administration, right? Think of the hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal fees. And if you're not someone famous, no one's taking your case for free, right? Think about what you're putting your family through. Think about what's going to happen to your public image because you're not just a nameless form filler outer. You're now someone that America would know who you are if you keep pushing back, if you get a pardon, all of these things. This is potentially life changing. And again, that's how you splinter them. So I don't think this is the end all be all. I wouldn't count on the courts to necessarily save us. But we talk a lot on this program about people that have been letting us down. So I wanted to bring you some positivity on actually a branch that is so far really stepping up in big ways. Now, Samantha asks, I just want to know where the hell are the Democrats and what are they doing? Great question. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but let me give you a quick call to action on this. Now, most of us are not attorneys, though I know some of you are. Angela V wanted to point out, can Trump pardon someone in a civil case? It's just for crimes. Great point, Angela. It is just for crimes. And you're right. If there was a civil judgment, they'd have to still pay it, right? So that's a great question, Angela. There's more than one way to make people's lives uncomfortable in court. I've spent way too much time in court myself. I know of which I speak. Okay, if you want something that you can do that's positive, again, most of us not being attorneys and judges, I highly recommend that you follow or subscribe to the free newsletter of an organization called Democracy Docket. Now, this is not my organization. I'm not technically affiliated with it in any way, but this organization is funded through different donations, different attorneys that volunteer their time. It is a broad consortium of attorneys that are fighting what's happening and continuing to fight for voter access and voter rights on top of all this stuff at not just the federal level, but the state level. So if you want a nice place to see where all these cases are in one place, they do a really good job of putting the cases together, explaining it in a way that I feel like makes a lot of sense. They're attorneys, but I still feel like I understand them most of the time. And they don't just track their own cases. So I just want to make sure that you all have a resource because it is very difficult to follow all of this at once, at least for me. So my positive little jewel there for you this evening is if you want to follow what's happening with these cases, highly recommend Democracy Docket, and they do a newsletter summary that they send right to your inbox. And again, I don't work for them. This is just me trying to help you wade through the chaos tornado. All right. 75 Corvette points out he's here on TikTok. You're referring to, I think, Mark Elias, and you can follow him here. Yes, Mark Elias is the name of the creator of Democracy Docket. I believe he was the creator. He's the head of it now. And he's someone, if you want to know how good of a job that he and his team are doing, he has been cursed multiple times by not just 47, but our acting co-president, Elon Musk, who we're going to talk about more in just a bit as well. So you know you're doing something right if those guys are yelling at you and calling you all kinds of childish names, right? Okay, awesome. So let's keep going because you guys are, first of all, thank you for all of the likes and the gifts. We so appreciate you here at Political Fixer. We're at already over 20,000 likes. Let's see if that positive energy maintains as we talk about something maybe a little less pleasant, which is what the hell is happening with the Democrats. All right. So we talked about people that are, in my opinion, really stepping up in the fight. Maybe let's talk about the other shoe, shall we? All right. Our glimmer here that I'm going to go ahead and tell you up front is, while I do think that the Democrats are finally, yay, legacy media, you win, we're finally in disarray. I do think that's true. We're going to talk a little bit about specifically why, but I want to tell you some other things that are positive in how we can honestly go around them, which I think is what we're going to have to do. I'm not suggesting a third party, though at this point, if I was a trillionaire, I would be. I am suggesting that we take it over and we start out organizing them. And the good news is it's a pretty low bar. So let's dive in, shall we? All right. Just a quick summary, because this feels like it's been 85 years ago, but it's only been happening over the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, I think today, was the State of the Union address. And we were already starting to see some disturbing trends, if I can be so blunt. I believe that when you have a member of your own party, particularly a senior member who is highly ranked in your own party, stand up and be forcibly removed from the chamber, that if he was speaking truth to power, that it is your job then as a fellow colleague as an opposition party to stand up and get thrown out with him. And yet that didn't happen. So that for me was a little bit of a canary in the coal mine. But then we were following this fight with the budget, what we call the CR or the continuing resolution. And basically this happens every year. Didn't always used to be a fight, but the continuing resolution itself happens every year. And it's basically saying, this is our budget for the next year, and we want to pass it through Congress. These are our priorities, and it keeps the government open for another year. Now, this used to be very just kind of ceremonial. It was something that was important. You needed a signature on it, but it wasn't something that was contentious. It wasn't always this fight. Well, now it's been seen as leverage. Give us what we want, or we won't vote for you, and the government will shut down. Now, in a pleasant surprise, the entire House Democratic caucus stood together. Hakeem Jeffries got them whipped up. AOC was on all kinds of social media, and every single House Democrat, I believe, with maybe one exception, they all voted against that continuing resolution. Now, it didn't really matter from the purpose of numbers because Republicans have a majority in Congress, and they only needed a simple majority, 51 or more, or 51% or more, and they've got it, right? But it did matter to the Democrats because you're talking about some Democrats that are in some purple, vulnerable districts. And yet the Democrats stood firm in the House side of things. So a positive, comma, but. Then it takes us to the Senate. Now in the Senate, it was different. The Senate actually needed Democratic votes in order to pass that next level of things, right? To pass the next gauntlet, they needed Democratic votes. So this was our chance, right? So this is the time to stop them. You need our votes. Take out some of the really nasty stuff that's in there, including a clause that said that the executive branch could pretty much say no to anything that was approved and could retroactively claw back amounts of money that had already been appropriated by Congress, right? Okay, so the question was, would Senate Democrats agree and give over votes? Would they negotiate and get something out of it in exchange for the votes and slow down, again, this wrecking ball that's been swinging back and forth in different aspects of our government? Or would they just, let the government shut down? I think you all know what happened by now, which is that they caved. They caved. And not only that, it was worse. So true story, I get a phone call the night before the vote saying it looks like the government might shut down. Can you do a video on this? Absolutely. Get ready to go. By the time we filmed it early the next morning, the pendulum had already swung the other way. Schumer, the Senate minority leader for the Democrats, Chuck Schumer from New York, senator from New York, he signaled that he was going to go with bat. He even said things like, oh, they don't have votes without us, all these things. And then in kind of what was the grossest betrayal, in my opinion, this is my opinion, not only did he cave, but he looked like he was lying the whole time. I'm just going to be honest. Why do I say that? They needed a certain amount of votes. The exact votes they got just happened to come from the exact senators, none of whom are up for re-election in the next election cycle. So if you're getting all excited and you're saying, I'm going to vote against those people next time around in 2026, you can't, because he strategically chose Democrats that aren't up for re-election in the next cycle. So that was kind of craven. If you believe in this, then why aren't you standing behind it? But also, the second it was announced on the floor, boom, a New York Times editorial appears out of nowhere, which involved, among other things, comments and an audio interview from Chuck Schumer himself. That's right. He didn't know what he was going to do until the last minute, except for this little sidestep to the New York Times to give them time to interview him, record that interview, type out an editorial piece, and have it ready to go at exactly the right time. Or exactly the wrong time, depending on how you look at it. Okay, so where does that leave us now? People are asking, was he right? Let's explore that. Was he right? Would shutting down the government make it worse? Right? Okay. Here's the point. I am not a political expert on government structure and budgets. I understand media, I understand messaging, I understand campaigns and elections, but here's what I do know. I've read multiple articles with Chuck Schumer quotes. I've seen multiple interviews, every word that has come out of Chuck Schumer's mouth. I have followed this story for over a week, keeping up with it so I could report back to all of you. I still do not understand any tangible way that the government shutdown would be worse for what's happening right now than what's actually already happening, than a complete dismantling of what's going on. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But here's my point. Isn't it the Democrats' job to persuade me, to educate me, to let the public know? Instead of pretending to get cute 24 hours before the vote and say, oh, they can't do it without us. If you don't intend to ever fully consider shutting down the government, use that time to tell us, hey, listen, we know this is bad, but let me explain to you how it would be worse. It seems to me that some of the more senior leaders of the party, I don't mean in age, I mean in how long they've been there, that they've decided that their job is to parent us and just say, well, we're doing it because I said so, instead of persuade us. It seems to me that they are not considering our viewpoint when we're doing this. Now, you all responded in a pretty impressive way. Something I didn't know until the last minute was that Jasmine Crockett did do a great job of explaining it, Veronica. I agree with that. And yet Jasmine Crockett voted to shut the government down. So yes, she believes that the government shutdown would hurt, but yet it was the right thing to do in this situation, right? So here's the thing. Chuck Schumer had a book tour. It was supposed to start this week. And many of you were already mobilizing to let him know what your thoughts were. Well, good job. There's no more book tour. So well done. He's heard you. He's calling a bunch of us extremists. He's saying that we're paid or that we're just the same far leftists, which is not true and not fair and overgeneralization. And he also said that there were security concerns. But right now, he has postponed his book tour because of voter backlash. So he's had to stop what he's doing. We're also seeing more and more legacy media reporting on this and saying, should he step down as minority leader? Now, to be clear, Schumer is not up for re-election. I'm not saying he should or can be voted out. What I'm saying is he the man of the hour? Is he the senator that can lead us in these very difficult, new, and honestly battle-ridden times? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that while it does require that he be up for election in order to be primary and all these things that I'm saying, the Senate at any time, the Senate Democrats could choose to not make him the minority leader right now. That could happen at any time, right? So that is a pressure point. If that's something that upsets you, it's something you can look towards, right? Now, there's already talk again of primarying him in the future and what have you, and we don't control senators. If you want to talk to senators that are on the Democratic side, it would have to come from Democrats and say, hey, here's a new leader. What I would suggest is you coalesce around one or two names. Instead of saying anybody but Schumer, who would you like? Because that's half of the fight right there, right? And someone needs to be a fighter. I read something really interesting. One of you said it on Blue Sky the other day. I wish I could remember who so I could credit you. But the situation with the Democratic Party right now is not really left versus center. The issue right now is how far are you willing to go in the fight? How much fight do you have in you, right? That is what's happening, right? Chris Murphy, Michelle says, great question. AOC and Jasmine Crockett are in the House, so they wouldn't be able to be the Senate minority leader, though I adore both of them. All right, so I would recommend that, yes, you start coalescing around a different senator and start getting that chatter up there, right? I would love to hear which Democratic senator you would like to see as leader. If not him, who? It's really easy to be just against whoever's in charge, but who would you like to see? I think that's one of our first orders of business as a community, as people that are online, as people who clearly pay attention, because you get every pop quiz I throw your way. Um, who would you like to see? You start floating a name, and suddenly that starts to get traction, right? So that's the kind of thing. Someone's saying Bernie. Bernie's out on the campaign trail. My question about Bernie is he a Democrat right now? Because he changes sometimes from Democrat to independent based on what he needs to do procedurally for his election. So sometimes when he's not in an election year, then he is designated as independent. Just something to think about. Okay, but here's a bigger picture take on what's happening with the Democrats at large. Why is this happening? Quite candidly, this is someone that is using an old playbook and is not adapting to where we are with politics of the moment. Chuck Schumer himself is very rarely on any social media. He is not on the pulse of immediate people. He, like many elected officials who have been in power for many, many years, there's a removal there, right? He has a staff that screens everything for him pretty much. I'm pleasantly surprised that the book tour thing worked. So well done, everyone, on that. This is a situation, I don't know if any of you are sports fans, but in the celebration of March Madness, of which I am a huge fan, let's look at it this way. If you have a college that is, they want to do great by their program, they want to try to win, they have all of the best intentions, but they're not adapting to the transfer portal, to recruiting athletes, to helping them get sponsorship deals, the new way of doing things. Now, you can be someone that's like, oh, I think it should be done a different way. That's fair. You have a right to that opinion. But guess what? Right now, if you don't adapt your game, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And we need Democrats that understand the new rules, that lean into the new game, that come in knowing how to win in this new era, right? That's what we need. And I don't just mean win elections. I mean win the media cycle, win hearts and minds. Because here's the issue. Right now, Democrats are taking polls. They're paying a lot of people to take polls. And they're deciding where the temperature is at. And they are shifting their talking points accordingly. We're watching it happening. Not all Democrats, not everyone. I'm saying in general, we know that a lot of federal Democrats are doing that. So they're taking a poll to see where we are as a nation, and then they're changing their talking points based on that. I'm not saying they're changing their values, but they're changing their talking points. And that's bad. Why? Because their job should be to take a poll and then see how much work they have to do to persuade us. That is their job. They are not parents. They're not trying to ground us if we do poorly or keep us in line and stop us from wrecking the car as voters. That's not their job. They are supposed to galvanize and lead. And leaders have to persuade. Sometimes leaders have to do something that's unpopular and then convince you about why it is the right thing to do, right? Kay has a great point. They need to stop asking for money and start asking our views. Absolutely. That is absolutely true. Okay. So right now, we're going to be focusing a lot of what we do on basically going around the federal Democratic Party. Now, what do we mean by that? I'm not saying that I'm not a proud Democrat. I'm not saying I don't wish them well and hope that they get their act together. But right now, even with the best intentions, that's going to take time. So we've been listening to a lot of you. We've been talking to a lot of local activist groups and local parties across the country. And so our entire goal over the next several weeks is to get you organizing tools in your hands as quickly as possible, as freely as possible, and help you to leverage those tools to organize around what issues matter to you. And when we have the bandwidth and we're able to, we will also create blueprints around those different issues. We'll customize it for you, right? This messaging is really important. It centers around 3 key principles, right? And this came from all of you saying, what can we do? We need to do more. I've called my congressmen so often. I have their number memorized. These are things that you all are saying right now. What can we do? All right. Well, there is a principle that we're going to be talking about a lot more in the future, which is the 3.5-point principle. And what that means, it's based on a Harvard study, is that if you can get 3.5% of any population to actively engage in some sort of activism, take a training course, actively share things on social media, get emotionally invested, you can completely transform any civil movement. Now, I'm not saying that's enough for voting, obviously, that's 3.5%, but think about what that means in day-to-day life. What we can do could have exponential impact. So what can we do? All right, well, the first thing is we have to make sure that we get our messaging together to grab the attention of low information voters, because that's what happened, right? Now, I'm not saying low intelligence voters. Really important that we understand that. I'm not even saying that they don't care. I'm talking about people that in their day-to-day lives, they're hearing drips and drops of things, and they are not able to follow these stories day to day. They do not have the bandwidth due to lack of internet that's reliable, lack of time when they're working 2 and 3 jobs, caring for others, which is usually the situation, their families, their parents, having an illness themselves. There are lots of reasons that really kind, amazing, caring Americans might not follow politics and understand it, right? I'm not saying all of them. We do know that 34% of the country right now, they have drank the Kool-Aid, right? We know that. But that's an awful big number that they're leaving on the table, 66%. We cannot assume that just because someone doesn't know what's going on, that they cannot comprehend it or they do not care. So the first thing we've got to do is get messaging that is so simple, that can be so easily conveyed, that it reaches the low information voters and they hear it over and over and over again. This is not something that I have invented, right? How many of you are old enough to remember this is your brain on drugs? All right, Fixer family. I know some of you know this. I'm not the only one here, though. I'm sharing my age. So, remember that fried egg and that skillet, right? Think about this. That campaign was effective, right? It takes that type of public awareness campaign to work. Right? That's right. Fry that egg, baby. All right. We need to be doing something that is similar. I'm going to go through an example of that in just a second. So the first thing is we have to hammer low information voters and counter what he's doing. He just repeats stuff. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to make sense, but he says it often enough and then it gets repeated, and that's all that's out there. And while he's saying something super simple, we have people that, God love them, but they are like giving us a dictionary of information. Which one is going to make you remember? Which one's going to make you remember? So we need catchy stuff. We need to repeat it often. And we need it fun for people to engage. Second thing, we have to stop talking about it's wrong, it's not fair, this is hypocrisy, this has never happened before. These things are all true, but it's not going to make us win, right? Nobody likes a team that just plays the refs. Sorry, I'm in full March Madness fever. Go LSU and FSU. All right. So those are not valid arguments. They are valid concerns, but they're not valid arguments. The way you persuade someone, and I think many of you can guess what I'm going to say here, talk about how it directly impacts them, or it could, right? I love what Nini's saying. Here's an egg under Trump. Yes, the egg is a golden one, Nini. It costs $15 for each one. I don't think they can afford to film the This Is Your Brain on Drugs commercial anymore. Okay, so back to the point of making sure that we share, how does this impact you, right? He's gutting Social Security. That means you might have delays or even cancellations of your Social Security checks. He's taken away and fired thousands of FAA agents. That means longer lines at TSA and planes might crash, right? He's fired thousands and thousands of veterans. Now, not only is that wrong, not only does that hit at the soul of our democracy and our country, but also think about what that's going to do to our economy, to making these people have to look for jobs at the same time the rest of us are looking for jobs. Simple messaging. How does it affect you, right? NOAA cuts. Yes, David Kramer. Absolutely. I'm in Florida. That Sharpie doesn't actually change the direction of the storm, right? So these are the types of things that we need to convey in a way that is very specific, very top line. And then if someone wants to read more, if they want to understand it better, yay, that's what you hope for, right? That is what you hope for. So We're going to target low information voters. We're going to try to get their attention in a way that is not patronizing, not talking down to them, and certainly not assuming that they should know or there's something wrong with them. That is not a way to start a friendship, right? And we're trying to build a bigger tent here. Second thing we're trying to do, we're trying to say, and so what? And so what? Why should I care? If that person is so busy, so just bogged down in life that they don't know what's going on to that level of detail, then give them a reason to spend some of their precious time caring and looking into this. And that brings us to point 3. We need to give them a call to action that matters. We need to ask them something besides for money or for a vote. Man, that has been done, and we got a lot of work to do. So that could be, hey, there's someone else you can call. Did you know you can reach out to your state attorney, right? It could be ask them to share stuff on social media. It could be ask them to get their favorite slogan on merch and sport it and talk to their friends about it, talk to their family about it, right? There's so many things we can ask people to do that's not donate or vote. Those things are important. I'm not saying they aren't, but we have to give people things they can do right now and help them get organized and give them some wins. It's going to be a long few years, everybody. So we need to make sure that we're saying, hey, listen, let's let more people know what Doge is and what they stand for and what they're doing to America. Good job. Now more people than ever are saying they're aware of what's happening with Social Security and the veterans, right? These are victories that we need. This is the time. All right, so the 3 pillars of our approach, basically, together, right, is make sure we target low information voters, make sure we give them short messaging on how it impacts them, and then give them something to do that is not always voting, calling their congressperson, or I'm inserting that little thing there because, I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, but we've all been doing it, and it's kind of a discouraging act right now. I'm not saying don't do it, but I think you guys influence the House, for the record. All right. On that note, Jersey Sloan says 5 Calls app will connect you directly to your representative. Absolutely. Carmela Sidwell says, are you saying we aren't going to get him out of office anytime soon? Carmela, I am a fixer. I always plan for the worst case scenario. I am also a loudmouth broad from Texas. I never count on anyone coming to my rescue. So I'm not saying any of these things couldn't happen. I'm saying what we work on is the most pessimistic outcome. And if I can help come up with a plan with all of you that is like potentially could go through all of our worst case scenarios, then yay, I do think that with tide winds, things will happen and things could change, right? So I don't want to make it seem like everything is the worst ever. I actually think that this is a moment that could turn out ultimately to be something that brings us to a better place over time. But let's face it, it's going to be really hard until we get there. And the bottom line is it's really easy to say that in these big, grand, gestury ways. But real people are hurting. Real people were on those planes to El Salvador. Real people are having their passports destroyed if they're transgender. Real people are losing their jobs. Real people are being declared dead and not getting their Social Security checks. This is real pain. And so we got to do what we can to organize and fight. And then if people come in to join us, then we would love to have them, right? Dino Odom says, unfortunately, my rep is Mike Johnson. Dude, I thought I had it bad having Rick Scott and Marco Rubio, but you might have me beat there. Okay, so we've got some more stuff for you here. I know this has been an action-packed show already. We've been talking a lot about news, but I had promised you guys some fun surprises, and we've been talking about what we're going to do. Good news for you. You get a sneak peek on some stuff that's already done, right? Bird, you're in Florida? Oh, where? I would love to know. Okay. Oh, Josh Hawley. Man, you guys have some really interesting characters as well as your as your congressional representation. All right. Let me give you 3 super positive updates. And good news, you all get some fun surprises in this as well. We're going to start with a quick update on Equal Rights Now. You can visit Equal Rights Now at equalrightsnow.us. That's equalrightsnow.us. We have not been talking about this a lot lately because we've been working on it frantically to keep up and build it behind the scenes, but we've got some fun stuff that we can share with you this evening. 3 quick updates on Equal Rights Now. More and more of you have been signing the petition, which we are going to use. The 30-second summary for those of you that are joining us for the first time is that we have a smash the clock philosophy, which is the Supreme Court and others are arguing it took too long to ratify the amendment to the Constitution to guarantee that we are equal citizens under the United States Constitution as women. They said, whoops, took too long, missed your chance, no rights for you. Now, we could have that conversation and debate, and maybe I would win, maybe I wouldn't. I'm not a lawyer, but here's what I know. We can change the game board, which is what I'm all about. So rather than arguing about an archaic clock that started in 1972, not calling any of you that started in 1972 archaic by any means, but the rule that we're debating is nonsense. So let's change it. Let's get some states that ratified in 1972 to re-ratify and reinforce their support over the next year. And that's done at the state legislative level, and that's blue states that we can get, right? Including some red ones. Let's go after some states that never ratified, and let's give them a chance to do it now. A lot has changed in the last several decades, right? And then also building media and political pressure as we get closer and closer to midterms so that we can hopefully, and this is how we cross the finish line, build out that public support, get rid of that clock, smash that clock, and get it across the finish line and certify it as the 28th Amendment. Now, we've got some tools to help you do it. First of all, if you want to understand more about this, I've been going around the country and doing some trainings and doing some virtual trainings. I'm going to be doing some more with some of you that have reached out and some of your organizations. We're going to continue to do that. So definitely keep reaching out to us. So that's equalrightsnow.us, US as in us. All right. But there's only so many hours in the day. So we have a brand new training platform that if you go to equalrightsnow.us and you look under Take Action, there is free training. We've built it. You can take it anytime you want. You can do it for 5 minutes and then come back. The whole course is not that long, but it gives you context. It tells you how we got here, what exactly are we doing, and exactly how you can get involved. Now, this Equal Rights Institute, as we're calling it, this is just our first course of many. It's 100% free. You just log in, and many of you have already signed the petition or donated to Equal Rights Now. Thank you very much for that. And if you did so, you got free access already today. We sent that out as well as an email update on all of this exciting stuff. But you can sign up for free and get that course, and we'll be offering more trainings for free on how to do this. So that's number one, our training institute for Equal Rights Now. Our second big update with Equal Rights Now is we now have a state action center. And I want to thank many of you because you've given us so many great suggestions of what you would like to see. Now, this is just phase one of the State Action Center. We're going to be adding a lot more to it. But already, if you go to equalrightsnow.us and you look at the State Action Center under Take Action, you'll see this map that's interactive that tells you your state, though you don't have to limit your activism to your state. This is a nationwide project and it has global impact. So any of you can get involved from anywhere around the world. You'll find your state where they are, but we went one step further. We also have sample bill language. If you have a legislator that you can get to, don't just say, hey, do something. Here is the exact bill language, and it's customized based on that state's situation. Every single state has one. You can share it as a PDF, and then there's text that you can copy and paste and put in an email. So those are some of the things you all said that you wanted. Hey, Candace, she's one of our Equal Rights Now. Candace just joined us. Candace is one of our national ambassadors for Equal Rights Now, and she's going to be helping to spread the word in Texas. And Candace offers us a great opportunity to do a segue here, which is I just got off of a statewide conference call with the Texas State Democratic Women, and right now they are taking it to their next board meeting to pick up our initiative and our bill language and officially adopt it as a statewide platform in Texas. Now, Texas ratified in 1972. That is my home state, home of former Ann Richards. Also, what many of you might not realize is Jane Roe, as in Roe v. Wade, was a Texan. That's right. So Texas feels like they want in this fight. So they have been really reaching out and trying to get organized to help us with this movement. And then we're going to try to help them get organized with their upcoming elections that are happening statewide as well. So that's just some of what's happening. Sarah met with some people in New Jersey this evening. So many fun things. So stay on top of the State Action Center. Keep sending those suggestions in. And again, these are just some of the ways that we can get involved and move this forward. Now, I'm going to pivot to our next exciting announcements in just a second. But first, I wanted to tell you that a number of you have already signed up to be influencers and advocates for equal rights now. If you haven't signed up, it's 100% free. There's a lot of ways we can help amplify you and grow your accounts and your visibility if that's something you would like. If you want to volunteer behind the scenes quietly, that's cool too. We definitely appreciate you. You that signed up, you're going to be getting your influencer kits next week. So we've got even more great stuff coming along the way. Lots of fun, so definitely stay tuned. Really excited about the momentum that is getting. Okay, now this one is brand new. Brand new, you are getting it before everyone else. Remember a few minutes ago when we were talking about messaging, keeping it simple, going after low information voters, making it something that we could work on together. If any of you would like, either now or later, I'm going to invite you to go to just one of the many platforms that we'll be launching in the coming days and weeks, which is politicalfixershop.com. Now, this shop is in beta. It is in beta. You are seeing it before the public is seeing it, so be kind. Does it work? Yes. Does it only have 4 things in it right now? Also, yes. Does it only ship to the United States and Canada today? Yes, because it's in beta. But over the next several days, you're going to start to see this thing flourish and grow. Why am I telling you this? Because one of the things that you'll see is this is going to be one of our hubs for some of our action items and our campaigns. And one of those campaigns I'm really excited to share with you tonight. Now, again, this is a sneak preview. You are getting more of this in the coming days, and we'll be sharing it with the public at large. But we wanted to bring it to you on Political Fixer Live first. Okay, I want to introduce to you the Bad Doge campaign. That's right, Bad Doge, Baddoge. The idea is all of us have seen someone that's like, bad dog. We have taken Doge over and we are going to remake its brand and make sure that even if you don't understand what Doge is, you understand it's bad. Doge has fired thousands of veterans. Bad Doge. Doge is endangering Social Security. Bad Doge. It is time to put a leash on Doge. You see where this is going? We are going to be unveiling an entire campaign around Bad Doge. I want toddlers to see the word Doge on a newspaper across the street and go, Bad Doge, right? That is the goal. You can see some of the first artwork, though if you are an artist, boy, do we need you, because this is just to get us started. And there's ways you can make money with this program. If you would like to offer us licensing to your artwork and make money on every piece that sells, if you want to make money on helping us with this political activism, we need you. So just go to politicalfixer.com. That's politicalfixer.com and let us know that you want to get involved. We're going to be looking for creators. We're looking for influencers. We're looking for artists. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for advocates. This Bad Doge campaign is a way to get people's attention, get them to turn their heads, and then to listen further about this issue, right? Bad Doge. Love it, love it, love it. Jersey Sloan. I'm an artist. I don't want to make money. Love you, Jersey. If you want to redonate your proceeds to another cause, you're more than welcome to do that, but we would love to have you. All right. Bad Doge. That's the campaign. That's the play. If you like that one, please let us know. Please go to politicalfixer.com and you will be first in line to get the merch, to sign up, to get free social graphics, to be able to sign up, to be able to be an art, whatever you want, we will get it for you, right? We're going to be unveiling this to the public in the coming days, but you get it first. Now, if you want to buy one of the few things that we have as test items on there, it does work, but please use a promo code, Fixer15. That's FIXER15 and get a discount. If you're going to support us, let us support you, Fixer15. And if you want to get involved and get your own promo codes to share with your friends, we'll get you all of that stuff. Again, it's 4 products for now, but we're really excited. It's going to be able to offer global shipping to almost anywhere in the world, not Russia. And we're also going to be able to have hundreds of different products over time, not just Bad Doge, so we're excited about that. Other initiatives, political fixer products you guys have been asking for, Equal Rights Now products that feature strong feminist quotes. We have a sample product in there with a gorgeous quote from Sojourner Truth, right? So products that are made here in the United States. By that, I mean they're assembled in the United States. We all know that the parts come from here, there, and everywhere. But we made sure to use U.S. distributors. We're using small businesses whenever possible, and it gets shipped directly to you. So also, again, ways for you to be compensated for your work. All right. Lots of fun stuff here. Let's get a few more questions in before we wrap tonight. And then we've got one more thing to put on your calendar. So much that we've talked about this evening. So we talked about 47 squaring off with the judges. If you'd like to follow that more, go to Democracy Docket or follow Mark Elias. We're not personally associated in any way. It's not my organization, but I do find his free newsletter and their work to be extremely useful. And if you're not an attorney, I feel like it's also easy to understand. Second thing, we talked about Schumer and the Democrats, and we talked about how they are struggling with their identity and who they are. It's no longer just about how you vote on certain issues. It's how much you're willing to put up a fight even when you don't have the votes. It's so important right now. The short answer to how we're going to address that. Yes, we're going to vocalize our opposition, maybe rally around one or two senators that you guys believe might make a good replacement as minority leader. That's my opinion. I'm not saying you all need to share it. That's my opinion. But the other thing is we're going to make sure that we don't wait to be told what to do, that we are going to actually step up and try to organize ourselves, our county parties, our local advocacy groups, online, with each other, building communities. And we started talking about just a few of the tools that we've started to build and roll out for you to do that. Action centers, training institutes, and as you can guess, we're going to be doing similar things for the Doge campaign, the Bad Doge campaign, fun merch, social graphics, content graphics, artist programs. So we want to make sure that we are heard and seen. We get people's attention, and then we invite them to act alongside us. That is how you build political power. What that looks like, how fast it changes things, who's to say? But you know what? Without it, we got nothing. We got nothing. With it, we're unstoppable, right? People are saying that AOC might primary Chuck Schumer. That call has been made by a number of people. I do feel like that's going to be interesting because some people that might not feel that she shares all of their issues feel like she shares their overall values and she shares their fight. So again, that's the evolution of the party. Now, she can't do that immediately. She has to wait because he's not up for re-election right now, but he can be moved as Senate Minority Leader, right? So, all right. I want to take a moment before we do our last little bit. If any of you have remaining questions, now would be the time to get them in. We're at over 70,000 likes. 75 Corvette is pushing for 75,000 likes. I know how you are, 75 Corvette. I want to take a second and say a special hello to our Political Fixer family that's on here week after week, like Guava Girl. And I mean, just so many of you that are on here over and over again, showering us with gifts. And also, really, guys, just Sherry, I see you on there. Really good accountability partners as well. You all have been fantastic accountability partners. CJ Murphy, Kelly Fraser. So many people that are on here saying, hey, have you thought of this idea? Have you seen this story? Being encouraging, saying nice things just to pick us up when, I know that it's tough out there and we don't have all of the answers, but you all help us put one foot in front of the other and at least try something, right? Carmela is asking, when are we live? Most of the time we're live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. We switched it to Wednesday because of the State of the Union a couple of weeks ago, but that's a great question, Carmela, because it leads to a couple of dates I want you all to circle on your calendars. Number one, our next live is scheduled for next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you ever miss it, I know, Sherry, you said you had some running around you were doing. No worries. Go to YouTube at Political Fixer. It's 100% free, and you can watch it in double speed while you exercise if you so choose. The second thing that I want to have you mark on your calendar is April 1st. That's right, April Fool's Day, which is a Tuesday. It is normally a time that we would be live. We're going to be covering some special elections that night, including those in Florida, and also the special election that is Early voting is happening now with the Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, right? So we're going to be following that and bring you that coverage on the air. But also, we are unveiling the new edition of A Fearless Voice. This is not yet available for sale. So some of you have already reached out on politicalfixer.com. You got your advanced electronic copy today. If you want to be someone that reads it and gives us a review or a testimonial, say nice things, please, then we would love to give that to you for free, as well as the link as soon as this book is available. So it goes up for pre-sale on April 1st. And we'll be able to ship it to you. Signed copies and hardback and paperback will be available. This is the true story of how I became the political fixer. We released a version of this 10 years ago. It now has new chapters to talk about what's happening now with the government. It also has new chapters to tell you what actually happened in our crazy world and universe to get us where we are today with all of you. Definitely a saga that has a lot of twists and turns, but the good news is it has clearly a happy ending, as I get to spend so much amazing time with you. So we're going to be amplifying your fearless voices as part of this campaign. We're going to be celebrating the fact that with all this work, what we're doing so far, and again, we'll be able to make sure that I have my live is yelling at me and saying I'm taking too long. Anyway, I do see, guys, if I get cut off, it's, TikTok being TikTok. All right. So mark your calendar for April 1st. Reach out to us at politicalfixer.com if you want to get involved in the Bad Doge campaign, or just watch for my TikToks. We're going to be posting to that live, but you'll get everything first if you sign up on Political Fixer. Just go to the contact form and tell us what you want to do. If you've already signed up, then to participate in this stuff, if you've already told us you want to volunteer and you went and filled out the contact form, we'll be going back through those names next week and reaching out to you. So no worries there. So you don't have to sign up again and again, but if we miss you, definitely raise your hand up. Okay, I see that a lot of you, I want to acknowledge Kelly wants to mention and throw Chris Murphy and Cory Booker's names in the ring as potential new Senate minority leaders. So that's really great. Jersey Sloan has a question about equal rights now, which is, does using women to define us in the Constitution exclude us from we the people as separate? That is a great question. And the short answer is that Jersey women were purposefully excluded from the Constitution. And so now we have to rectify that by adding us. Now we're in there as having our right to vote, the 19th Amendment, but we are not in there as equal citizens. So it is something that, unfortunately, if you look at a lot of these state initiatives, we're not covered. We're just not covered. We've been living under a little bit of a false assumption there that being humans would, get the deal done. We were incorrect, as we're seeing our rights chipped away. We're going to be talking a lot more. When we talk about this, reproductive health is part of it. Regular health and testing and medical access is another part of it. But I want to give my Chief of Staff, Sarah, a shout out here. We're also going to be talking about other laws that they are currently doing to tackle our right to vote as women. Ooh, that's right. We've got our work cut out for us, but I know that we can do it and we can raise awareness. All right. I want to make sure that I leave you with a positive thought, which is that we couldn't do all of this work without you. And you all are doing amazing things in your community as well. I'm seeing so much of that. I'm trying to like as many of your videos as I possibly can. But I also want to say this. If you don't feel like you've reached your level of amazing yet, it's totally okay. That is totally okay. Because guess what? Right now, survival, mental health, your emotional well-being, getting up day to day and being positive, surviving, that is also an accomplishment. So this is supposed to be something that provides opportunity, hopefully provides us all with a sense of community. But you know what it's not supposed to be? A sense of stress and pressure. We have enough of that already. So we want you to come. Even if sometimes you just sit here and you just watch and listen and take in the positivity, that's great. That's more than enough. We want you here. Not everything has to be big and grand, and you don't have to participate in everything we put out in front of you. We just want to make sure that you're included and that when you're ready, you have a place to go and something to do. And as you think of other things that I'm sure I haven't thought of yet, I want to hear from you as well. Definitely want to hear from you artists and what you can do to help with some of these campaigns, volunteers, activists, and I can't wait to connect you with each other as well. On behalf of myself and my Political Fixer team, including Sarah and Jay Robot and Eddie and Candace and Heidi and so many others, just thank you for being you. Thank you for being who you are and caring enough to be here. We are just getting started. Thank you so, so much. Can't wait to bring you even more surprises. Lots coming. Look at the Political Fixer account. You'll get some videos and stuff soon. And if you sign up, you'll get the emails before everybody. Be safe, everyone. Pat yourselves on the back. You made it through another Tuesday. I hope this week serves you well and that you find a way to make some Texas-sized good trouble. Talk to you all soon. I love the gifts. I love all the designs. It's so amazing. Hey guys, if you can hear me, I'm signing off in just a bit, but did we get past 75,000 likes? I think we did. That's amazing. 75 Corvette, I think some of that was you. Over 100,000. Wow. You guys are amazing. All right, I'm going to sign off, but that was awesome. Wow, look at what we did.